Shalom Akim, all praise and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Bashim Kokodash, that belongs to the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to you, Akim, doing the work of true sincerity. And this is basically the news report on Trump, from ABC News, and basically just the times that we're living in. I'm gonna let this play briefly, probably maybe about 5 minutes of it. You can watch the whole show if you want to. And I'm gonna get a couple scriptures. Well, I might get one in the middle of each breakdown. Let's see. Yeah. So I'm gonna play this and let y'all hear it, and then I come back with some scriptures.
Now to President Trump's new strategy for Greenland, threatening some NATO allies with a 10% tariff. This as thousands gathered in Denmark to support the Arctic territory, waving flags and holding up signs reading, "Hands off Greenland." And a group of U.S. lawmakers traveling to Denmark showing their support for the American ally. Here's ABC's senior White House correspondent, Selena Wang.
Tonight, President Trump issuing a new threat to our European allies who oppose a U.S. takeover of Greenland. Trump posting on Truth Social that 8 of our NATO allies, including Denmark, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, will face 10% tariffs starting on February 1st. Adding that those tariffs will jump to 25% in June until a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. For weeks, Trump has been escalating his threat, saying the U.S. will have Greenland one way or another, refusing to rule out the use of military force. In response, those countries have sent small groups of military forces to the island nation, backing our NATO ally Denmark, which has long controlled Greenland. It comes as thousands march through the streets of Copenhagen today in protest, many waving Greenland's flag, holding signs that read, "Make America Smart Again" and "Hands Off."
I'm afraid that he will destroy the NATO alliance, so we're here to stand with the Greenlanders.
Trump is criticizing those countries for, quote, playing this very dangerous game and putting a level of risk in play that is not tenable or sustainable. This weekend, a bipartisan group of senators traveling in Denmark.
Do the officials in Denmark and Greenland take President Trump's threats seriously?
Very seriously. In fact, they're alarmed. Danish political leaders are preparing for the possibility that the United States, instead of being a close and trusted ally, might become an adversary, and they're gravely concerned.
And President Trump insists that the U.S. needs Greenland for national security, citing Chinese and Russian activity. But many lawmakers and experts say there's no immediate threat, pointing out the U.S. already has the ability to increase their military presence on the island through a long-standing treaty.
All right, Selena Wang for us tonight. Now to the unrest in Minneapolis.
So, regarding Trump, Revelation 17 and 16, and the 10 horns which thou hast sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is the great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So they're gonna, at the end of this thing, when World War III does happen, all of Esau's allies are gonna shoot missiles over here to America, because America is that great whore that sitteth on the beast. The beast is the NATO system. So yeah, they're all going to shoot their missiles over here. It's not going to happen yet, because there's still yet a prophecy that's got to be fulfilled before that happens, which is the MOTB. And, that's coming. However, all hell is still got to break loose as well. We're already in the beginning stages of the time of trouble, which I'm going to read, and then I'm going to play this and, end it off there. This is Daniel chapter 12, verse 1, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. At that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. So we're in the beginning stages of that time of trouble, because the things that's happening in Minnesota is going to happen all across the U.S. So I'm going to play this and then say a few words and let this end.
Anti-immigration protesters clashing with another group of demonstrators led by a January 6 rioter pardoned by President Trump. This comes after 2 shootings, 1 deadly, involving immigration agents in that city. The National Guard on standby if the situation escalates. ABC's Matt Rivers on the scene in Minneapolis tonight.
Tonight, growing concerns over the focus of the federal investigation into the shooting of Renee Good by an ICE officer in Minnesota. Multiple officials telling ABC News at least 6 federal prosecutors in Minnesota have resigned over concerns that the federal probe of the death of the 37-year-old mother of 3 is focused less on the actions of the shooter, ICE officer Jonathan Ross, and more on Good, her widow, and her possible ties to activist groups.
What do we want? Justice! What do we want it now?
Tensions now mounting in the city after 10 days of protests, with more demonstrations overnight. And despite frigid conditions on Saturday, hundreds of anti-ICE protesters surrounding City Hall, greatly outnumbering a small pro-ICE rally organized by a conservative influencer, the scene quickly spilling out of control.
So what's happening right now is that the organizers of this rally, who are in the middle of that scrum right there, they're being forced out of the City Hall area, drowned out by hundreds of people who are anti this ICE deployment in the city. The message to these organizers: get out.
The Minnesota National Guard now staged and standing by, but not yet deployed to city streets.
Go, Nazi!
President Trump, who had threatened to use the Insurrection Act to send in federal troops, now walking that back.
If I needed it, I'd use it. I don't think there's any reason right now to use it. But if I needed it, I'd use it. It's very powerful.
A federal judge in Minnesota also temporarily barring ICE officers from arresting or detaining peaceful protesters, quote, in retaliation for their protected conduct. The order also prohibits federal agents from stopping drivers or other observers of law enforcement activities without a reasonable suspicion of obstruction. Federal officials have said they only deploy those methods when protests aren't peaceful, but the scrutiny spreading to Minnesota politicians too. Multiple officials telling ABC News that Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz are now also under federal investigation for allegedly obstructing law enforcement activities in the state. Frey responding on social media, calling it an obvious attempt to intimidate me for standing up for Minneapolis against the chaos and danger this administration has brought to our streets. Walz slamming the administration and calling the federal investigation of Good's shooting into question, saying weaponizing the justice system and threatening political opponents is a dangerous authoritarian tactic. The only person not being investigated for the shooting of Renee Good is the federal agent who shot her.
Whit, the Trump administration continues to say that the agent's actions were justified and that there is, quote, no basis for a criminal civil rights investigation. Whit.
Matt Rivers, our thanks to you tonight. And tune into This Week tomorrow morning, Jonathan.
So, you know, that's basically what's going on in Minnesota, and even more is going on. You know, you got the measles outbreak and several other events that's happening around the United States. And I was watching the brother Elder Malcolm from Chicago earlier, and, you know, he put up something from Middle Nations, Shahid Bolson. I watched the same video, and he did a video about it, which basically Edomites are asking for help. Well, Americans, as he put it, are asking for help from other countries. And this is just, you know, a little bit of the things that America has been doing, a little bit of the democracy that America has been spreading globally. And now that it's turned inwardly, as Malcolm X would say, chickens coming home to roost. Hey, now they're complaining about it, but they've been doing this globally, much worse on other people for an extended amount of time. So Edomites are, you know, scared and worried and shit, but this is what they've been doing, you know. And of course, we know it. We're talking about Jake in America for the most part, because that's all these devils do. But yeah, it's gonna get much worse. We're in a time of trouble, and it's gonna get much worse. And everything you see that's going on right now that they was talking about in this video is gonna be across the whole America. I mean, they got the National Guard. They say the government over there in Minnesota got the National Guard over there on standby, not Trump. But that is, you know, to me, of course, I believe it's a lie, because we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. They got them on standby because they're about to, they want them there. They want them to rally in the people, or cart up the people, because they're about to do, I think they're about to do a major event. This is 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Hey, if they got the military on standby over there, it's not because the government wants to get ICE out. I mean, straight up. It's not because the government wants ICE out of there. It's because they want the people to settle down. And of course, we don't care about, you know, the Edomite woman that was judged, because that's what it really is. But they're going to use this to basically destroy that state. And they're going to use that state as an example of what people would do in other states. And they're basically going to put that model in all of America. You know, but the end is not yet, because this thing gonna really ramp up when they put the mark of the beast out there, man. When they start chipping people. And a lot of you people are going to fall for it, because you're going to be wishing for yesteryear. And a lot of you just don't know, or never accepted the truth. So with that, I'm going to end it there. All praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to you, I can do in the work of truth, sincerity. Till next time, shalom.